Hi friends. Today I thought that I would show you how I made these fun crazy cat lady earrings. Um, Basically I used to be terrified of cats and now I'm not because I got a kitty and I fell in love with her. So I felt like I needed earrings to prove that I am a crazy cat lady. So here's a close-up of the earrings, and please bear with me because this is my first tutorial. So if there's any suggestions you have, if you want me to slow it down, I am very open to suggestions. I want to make this the best for both you and me because I'm really excited about this and I really want it to work out, and I want to be able to share all the things that I've learned along the way as an artist. Now I'm going to roll the clip. So to design a cane this complicated, you're going to need to remember three things. You're going to need time, patience, and you're going to need to plan ahead. So the first thing that I always start with is color mixing. This can take a few minutes to a few hours depending on how many colors you're mixing and how much mixing you have to do. But if you do this, then you know exactly how much of each color you have and you're not going to run out. This is something I learned the hard way. Once I finish that, I always lay out all my clay cane making tools. I use this acrylic block and roller that I got off Amazon. I will link below. And then I got this cutter scraper from the food section at the Dollar Tree. It is the #1 cane making tool that I use. And then I use a large razor blade from Sculpey, and I use some bamboo sticks. Once I start, I just right away start forming the letters. Now I'm making them a little bit larger than I normally would, and that's so you can see them better. But if there's one thing that you learn from me ever about cane making, is that you have to outline everything. Now I am going to go ahead and outline each shape in this cane in tan so that you can see it a little better. But if you don't want an actual outline to show up in your cane, then you can just use the same color as whatever shape you want to hold into place. But this will stop distortion more than any other thing that you're going to use when you're making canes. So once you have all the letters put together, you're going to fill in all the white space. You're going to put them together the way you want them, and then you want to basically build onto that until it is a rectangle or a square. Those are the easiest clay shapes to minimize, and so I always use those. You want to fill in every single tiny space because clay is going to move if you allow it to, and movement causes distortion. So I use lots of little pieces to fill in every tiny nook and cranny, and then I again outline that in, this time I used navy because I didn't want an extra outline. Once that's done, I use the acrylic roller to adhere it to my glass mat, and then I take those scrapers and I slowly start to apply pressure on each side evenly. Now this is going to take you a long time. This video that lasts around 7 minutes or so, it took me over 5 hours to do, and I've done many letter canes, so I'm a little bit faster at it than I was when I started. But you can't go too fast. If you go too fast, this will cause distortion. It will overwork the clay will get too soft, it will warm up, and you will end up with a cane that you spend a lot of time on that does not come out the way that you had hoped. So once you get it a certain width, it gets a bit awkward to use those scraper tools from the Dollar Tree. And so then I start to use my hands and the acrylic roller and acrylic block. But again, I'm just using that same technique of applying pressure on all sides evenly, continuously. Also, I wanted to mention that it's a lot easier to minimize something when the clay is a little bit warm and you had just started. I'll talk about later about mixing different types of clay, and that's a whole different story. But if you're using all the same, which I used all Sculpey across the board, Primo Sculpey, it will minimize the best just a little bit after you let it set for maybe 10 minutes. Anyway, so once I did that, I cut it to the width I wanted it to be, and then I minimized the other words, the cat and lady. And I didn't care about the length. I knew the crazy one would be bigger because I wanted it to be more visible on camera, but I will save the excess of that. I won't put them all together now because I might in the future want to use one of the words in a different cane. So once you have them all together, the same width and about the same height, so that each word is approximately the same size, you can put them together and kind of roll them a little bit. And then what I did was I created a buffer on the outside using colors, and then eventually I outlined it in tan because that was the color I was going to use for the slab and basically the back of the earrings. The reason I do this is because clay is always going to move. There's always going to be some movement. And so if you leave a little bit of a buffer around the outside, when you go to attach it to your slab and then to cut it with your clay cutter, this is going to allow for every word to be visible within that cut. If you try to do just the words and they go all the way to the edge, then if you cut a slice and it's just a tiny bit thicker than the one you did before, you can cut off letters. And I again learned this the hard way, so I always do an outline. And once I was finished, I sliced into it, and I was so happy because every letter, every word kept its shape and created this fun little cane, which I then turned into earrings, and I'm now wearing all the time. And I'd love to hear what you think of them, and if you love them as much as I do. And if you try this technique, I would love to see, so link me up, and I hope you learned something. Bye, friends.